My name is Madison Carter, and I like to think of myself as a woman who finally learned how to breathe on her own terms. This morning, I sat by the floor-to-ceiling window of my office in downtown Chicago, watching the early light bend across glass towers. My silk blouse clung softly to my skin as I sipped coffee, the rich aroma mingling with the faint hum of traffic 20 floors below. It should have been just another Thursday, calm, predictable, secure. But then my phone buzzed. One sharp vibration on the desk, then another, as though it carried the weight of history with it. I glanced at the screen, and my heart clenched. The name flashing across wasn't just family, it was a reminder of the day they betrayed me with a pen stroke. A $76,000 wedding contract. Signed in my name. I remember the shock like it happened yesterday, the way my stomach dropped, the way my chest burned with disbelief when they smiled and told me it was for the good of the family. And when I refused to pay, they didn't just call me stubborn. They called me ungrateful. Now, years later, they were reaching out again. I felt the familiar ache under my ribs, that bruise only family can leave. But beneath it, there was also steel. Hard, quiet, unshakable. Because what they didn't know was who I had become. I was 23 the day it all unraveled. Fresh out of grad school, still renting a cramped studio apartment with peeling wallpaper and a heater that rattled through the night. My parents had called me home for what they called a family discussion. I should have known. The house smelled like rosemary chicken and lemon polish, as if comfort could be baked into the walls. My mother smiled too brightly, fussing with my hair like I was still her little girl. My father cleared his throat with that heavy authority that always meant he'd already decided what was best for everyone. Then they laid it on me. My brother's wedding. Lavish, extravagant, the kind of event that made headlines in small-town papers. They had already signed the contract with the venue, the florist, the caterer. $76,000. And, on the dotted line, my name. At first I laughed, thinking it had to be a mistake. But then I saw the look in their eyes, the expectation, the entitlement. They wanted me to foot the bill. Because I had a job. Because I was single. Because in their minds, my worth was measured in how well I could carry everyone else. My throat tightened. My palms went slick. You signed my name without asking me? My voice cracked in the middle, but I pressed on. You don't get to decide my future like that. They dismissed me like a child throwing a tantrum. My father leaned back, arms crossed. My mother whispered that I was being selfish. And when I said no, when I refused to chain myself to their debt, the word that cut deepest wasn't angry. It was disappointed. Ungrateful. That word clung to me like smoke. For weeks, I replayed it in my head, wondering if they were right. But there was one thing that saved me. A small silver bracelet my grandmother had given me before she passed, a delicate band etched with the words, "Stand steady." She'd been the only one who ever told me I didn't have to shrink to make others comfortable. That night, I held the bracelet in my palm until the metal warmed against my skin. I realized then if I stayed, if I gave in, I would never belong to myself. So I walked away. Out of their house, out of their expectations, out of the weight of a name they tried to trap me with. And though my hands trembled, for the first time in my life, I stood steady. Walking away meant starting from zero. No family backing, no safety net, no warm Sunday dinners to lean on. Just me, a suitcase of clothes, and that silver bracelet clinking softly on my wrist like a reminder not to fold. I took the first job I could get, answering phones at a real estate office during the day and bussing tables at a restaurant at night. My feet ached, my voice grew hoarse, and sometimes I'd come home too tired to even wash the mascara smudged under my eyes. But I was free. And freedom, I learned, has a cost. Still, I started to dream. Late nights at the office, when the phone stopped ringing, I'd peek at the broker's files, contracts, listings, the way money moved when someone had the courage to claim their piece of the city. I began to imagine myself not as the girl in the corner stapling papers, but as the woman shaking hands across glass tables. One person noticed. Her name was Caroline Blake, a senior broker with sharp heels and sharper instincts. She caught me one evening, poring over property maps I wasn't supposed to touch. I expected her to scold me, maybe fire me. Instead, she smirked. "You've got curiosity," she said. "Don't waste it." Caroline became my quiet mentor. She taught me the language of contracts, the rhythm of negotiations, the art of keeping your chin high when someone underestimated you. She never handed me anything. I had to earn it. But she believed in me when no one else did, and that belief lit a fire in me I hadn't known I carried. The climb wasn't easy. There were nights I sat on my kitchen floor, crying into takeout containers, convinced I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. There were deals that collapsed, clients who sneered at a young woman daring to play in their world. But then came the first yes. A young couple, nervous but hopeful, let me guide them through buying their first home. I'll never forget the look in their eyes when the keys dropped into their hands. My commission check wasn't huge, but to me it was freedom in an envelope. From there, the wins multiplied. Slowly, steadily, I built a portfolio. First-time buyers, small investors, and eventually the kind of clients who spoke in millions, not thousands. I never told my family. On social media, I posted modest photos, coffee shops, city sunsets, the occasional birthday dinner with friends. I kept my victories tucked close to my chest, afraid they'd find a way to twist them into debts I owed. But behind the quiet posts, my life transformed. My apartment grew larger, my suits sharper, my confidence harder to shake. I saved, invested, and one day, I signed papers not as a girl working in someone else's office, but as the owner of my own firm. And all the while, that bracelet stayed on my wrist. A silent reminder, stand steady. What they thought was my downfall. It happened on a gray November afternoon. The kind of day when the sky looks like brushed steel and the wind cuts straight through your coat. I was in my office, reviewing a closing deal, when my assistant buzzed me. "There's a family here to see you," she said softly. "They don't have an appointment, but they said they're your parents." For a moment, the air froze. My pen hovered above the page. It had been years, years of silence, of distance, of pretending I didn't ache when Christmas came and went without a phone call. And now they were here. I told her to let them in. The door opened, and there they stood. My father, older, the weight of disappointment carving deeper lines into his face. My mother, her smile tight, hands fidgeting with her purse strap. And behind them, my brother, the golden boy, the reason for that $76,000 betrayal. I didn't stand. I let them walk into my world. The office was everything I had built from nothing. Marble floors that gleamed under soft light, abstract art on the walls, fresh lilies on the table near the window. Behind me stretched the Chicago skyline, steel and glass and possibility. My desk was sleek walnut, a framed photo of my team smiling on one corner, the silver bracelet gleaming at my wrist as I folded my hands. They looked around, trying to hide their awe, but their eyes gave them away. My brother cleared his throat first. "Madison, we thought you were still renting that tiny place." "We didn't realize." His words trailed off as his gaze caught the company logo engraved on the glass wall. Carter and Blake Realty Group. "Yes," I said evenly, my voice calm but carrying an edge. "Blake, as in Caroline Blake, my mentor. And Carter as in me." My father's jaw tightened. My mother blinked rapidly. They had expected someone small, struggling, still licking wounds from the past. Not the woman sitting before them in a tailored navy suit. Not the woman whose name gleamed in polished brass outside the building. I let the silence stretch. Then, slowly, I leaned forward. "You remember the $76,000 wedding contract? The one you signed in my name without asking? The one you called me ungrateful for refusing to pay?" My mother's lips parted, but no sound came. My father shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Well," I continued, my eyes steady, "I could pay that amount 10 times over now. But I won't. Because that moment taught me something no degree or job ever could. It taught me that my worth isn't measured in how much I sacrifice for others. It's measured in how firmly I stand when someone tries to take advantage of me." My brother swallowed hard. "Maddie, we didn't think you'd make it on your own." I let out a soft laugh, not cruel, but heavy with irony.
Exactly.
You didn't think I could. And maybe that's why I had to. They sat in stunned silence, the reality settling over them like a weight they couldn't shift. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one shrinking in their presence. They were the ones shrinking in mine. I rose to my feet, the bracelet sliding lightly against my wrist. This office, this company, this life, I built it without your contracts, without your approval, without your shame. I walked toward the window, the city sprawling out beneath us, alive with proof of my choices. You wanted me to pay for someone else's dream. Instead, I chose to pay for my own. When I turned back, I saw it, the flicker of realization in their eyes. A mix of disbelief, shame, and maybe, just maybe, respect. I let them sit there in my office, surrounded by the proof of everything they said I couldn't do. For once, I didn't rush to fill the silence. I let it breathe, let it sting. Finally, my father cleared his throat. We came because things haven't been easy. Your brother's business failed. Your mother and I, well, the mortgage is behind. We thought maybe. There it was.
The ask.
The expectation. The same old story, dressed in new desperation. I held up a hand. Stop. Their words froze in midair. My voice was calm, but it cut sharper than anger ever could. I'll make one thing clear, I said. I am not your safety net. I'm not here to bail out bad decisions or sign my name to contracts I never agreed to. That part of my life is over. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Madison, please, we're family. Family. That word should have felt warm, but from them, it tasted bitter. I know we're family, I said gently. And, because of that, I am willing to help. But this time, it will be on my terms, not yours. I looked at my brother first. Daniel, you've hidden behind our parents long enough. If you want help, it comes with conditions. No more lavish risks. No more expecting others to clean up your mess. You want a future? Then get a job. Build something. Show up every day and earn it. His jaw tightened, shame flashing in his eyes. Then I turned to my mother. Mom, I know you try to smooth things over, to keep the peace. But denial is not love. If I help pay off the mortgage, it's only if you agree to be transparent. Every bill, every expense. No more secrets, no more pretending. She nodded quickly, tears sliding down her cheeks. Finally, my father. This was the hardest. His authority had ruled my childhood, his voice shaping every choice I was allowed to make. I met his gaze head-on. Dad, if you want a relationship with me, it starts with respect. Respect for my choices, my boundaries, my life. You don't get to call me ungrateful and then show up when you need something. If I extend a hand now, it's because I choose to, not because I owe you. For the first time, his shoulders sagged. The fight drained from his eyes, leaving only exhaustion. I folded my hands on the desk. I'll help you, but this is the last time under these terms. If you want me in your lives, it has to be as an equal, not as a bank, not as a scapegoat. I've carried my own weight. Now it's time for you to carry yours. The room was heavy with unspoken truths, the kind that sting before they heal. I softened my voice, not to weaken it, but to remind them that strength and compassion can live in the same breath. I don't hate you, I said quietly. I love you. But love without boundaries isn't love, it's control. And I won't go back to that. For the first time, they listened, truly listened. And in their silence, I felt the shift, the weight sliding off my shoulders, landing where it always should have been. The balance of power had finally changed. The weeks that followed weren't perfect. Change never is. Daniel stumbled through his first real job in years, calling me late at night to vent about bosses who didn't coddle him. My mother struggled to be transparent, leaving awkward voicemails about bills and receipts. And my father, he stayed quiet, the silence heavy, but not hostile. For the first time, he seemed to be listening more than commanding. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was progress. One Sunday, I visited their house. The same lemon polish smell clung to the air, though the place looked a little worn, a little humbler. My mother greeted me with open arms, tears streaming freely. No pretense this time. Daniel handed me a stack of pay stubs, pride flickering across his tired face. And my father, he simply nodded, his eyes lingering on me longer than they ever had, as if finally seeing me, not the daughter to control, but the woman I had become. That night, when I returned to my apartment overlooking the city, I slipped off my blazer and placed my silver bracelet on the dresser. The words etched into it, "Stand steady," caught the light, glinting like a reminder and a reward all at once. I thought about the girl who had once trembled in her parents' living room, accused of being ungrateful for refusing to carry a burden that wasn't hers. And I thought about the woman now, self-made, steady, unshakable. Life had given me a choice: bend under the weight of someone else's expectations, or build my own foundation. I chose the latter. And though it cost me years of loneliness, it also gave me the one thing I'd never had before: freedom. As I looked out across the skyline, lights blinking against the night, I realized something. The contract they once tried to trap me with had become irrelevant. Because no signature, no debt, no accusation of ungrateful could ever define me again. I smiled, a soft, steady smile, and whispered the words my grandmother had left me. "Stand steady." And for the first time in my life, I knew I truly had.